Hey folks, welcome back to Ndaba Africa. Hey, Side Africa. Well, probably better for you than it is today for former President Jacob Zuma, who once again has failed to appear before the Zondo Commission of State Inquiry into the state capture era under Zuma as president. Wow. Judge Raymond Zondo has instructed the legal team at the Commission of Inquiry into State Capture to bring contempt of court charges against former President Jacob Zuma. Wow. Now this after he failed to appear before the court on the 15th of February 2021. This is, of course, the third incident with Jacob Zuma. And is it, in fact, the third strike? Is this the third strike for Jacob Zuma? Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. What happens? Well, on the 19th of November 2020, he did appear before the commission and then got up and left. The arrogance, the cheek of this man. He just got up and left. He fled the scene. What's the first strike? So the Zondo Commission summoned him to come again in January, which he issued a 7-page social media statement in which he said that this was just a witch hunt and that he was not going to obey their law. Whose law? Would that be the Constitution of South Africa, the one that you took an oath to support and defend and uphold as president of South Africa? Would that be the law you're talking about there, Jacob Zuma? Wow, the cheek and arrogance of these ANC corrupt, scumbag, useless, dirtbag frickin' leaders. Wow. Let's see, did I hold back there? Yeah. Anyway, let's take a look and delve into what Judge Zondo had to say regarding Jacob Zuma and his failure to appear. The commission will make an application to the Constitutional Court seeking an order that Mr. Zuma is guilty of contempt of court. Then it is up to that court to decide what to do. It can impose a term of imprisonment or a fine. The commission will approach the Constitutional Court and ask it to impose a term of imprisonment. It will be up to the court to decide what is appropriate. Whoa, folks, it's on like junior rodeo in South Africa, the land where the rule of law is simply a piece of paper these days. Wow. They will seek to get the court to impose a term of imprisonment on the former head of state in South Africa, owing entirely to his arrogance. Now, why is it that Jacob Zuma is so opposed to appearing before the Zondo Commission? Probably because over the course of the past 3 years, he's been implicated by over 40 witnesses in corruption and probably doesn't want to answer the accusations of those 40 witnesses who've appeared before the commission. Wow. Judge Zondo had the following to say: "It is a pity Mr. Zuma has decided not to appear before the commission today in defiance of a summons, that it was done by a former president of the country who took an oath to uphold the Constitution is an even greater pity. The commission did not rush to issue summons, run to the Constitutional Court to get an order compelling him to appear. The commission did so when it was clear that he really was not prepared to comply with the summons." Well, indeed, he's not. Not only is he not prepared to comply, but the Imkhonto Military Veterans Association, ostensibly a fraternal organization, but apparently one that has paramilitary or domestic terrorist thoughts on its mind, deployed 200 of its members in battle fatigues to Jacob Zuma's ill-gotten Nkana palatial estate in KwaZulu-Natal. You know, the one the taxpayers paid for? Yes, they deployed there on Sunday after a meeting this past Thursday in which the Veterans Association president, as well as its press secretary and others in a group of 25, had a 7-hour-long marathon session with Jacob Zuma, plotting out a strategy to protect Zuma. So now, at his palatial Nkandla estate, the near octogenarian sits there, or is he an octogenarian now? He might even be close to 80, if not already at 80. Zuma sits there, ostensibly protected by 24 hours, 7 days a week, Umkhonto veterans, people who couldn't even fight their own way out of the bush, but somehow they're going to protect Jacob Zuma. Well, folks, the events in South Africa are rapidly, I don't want to say spiraling out of control, but man, either South Africa believes in the rule of law or it doesn't. We have more than ample evidence that the country doesn't believe in the rule of law. We see that economic freedom fighters leader Julius Malema gets free passes whenever he exhorts his followers to domestic terrorism or to racial abuse or uses hate speech. He gets a free pass, no consequences for Julius Malema. Why is his behavior tolerated? Well, for the same reason that Jacob Zuma will probably get away with his arrogance and thumbing his nose at the Zondo Commission in this court of inquiry. Because the rule of law doesn't apply to ANC elites. And yes, I know Julius Malema is in the Economic Freedom Fighters, but he was the ANC Youth League leader and was famously expelled for his public comments about then-serving President Jacob Zuma. Nonetheless, he still has many fans in the African National Congress, and they shield him, no doubt. And if you doubt that he's shielded, look no further, folks, than what you see in Senegal in the Northern Free State on the 16th of October 2020, when Julius Malema received a 26 police car escort, delivering him to the courtroom where he sat directly adjacent to the commissioner of police, the head of the police in South Africa, the South African Police Services, Becket Chile, sat right next to him, the gangster in chief himself. They sat side by side. Now, Chile ostensibly has a dog in the fight as someone in charge of police and the rule of law. It makes sense, although it's kind of odd he would go to a hearing like this over the murder of a young farmhand, Brendan Horner. But during the arraignment, he was there and sat right next to Julius Malema. These elites protect each other, and Jacob Zuma has gotten away with his crimes for decades because he's been protected as well. And one should not hold their breath hoping to see if there will be a warrant issued for Zuma's arrest. It's unlikely that that will occur. So, it's on like junior rodeo. Jacob Zuma thumbs his nose yet again at state authority and the rule of law, the very rule of law he was supposed to uphold as the president of South Africa. Now, this is the final thing I'll share with you from Judge Zondo. He said, "Our Constitution tells us we are all equal before the law." Yeah, if only minorities could feel equal under the law. "We are all subject to the Constitution and the law," not ANC cadre, "and we are all required to obey the court's orders." Let's see if that's true. "We are bound by the law whether you like it or not. There should be no two legal systems regarding these rules. There should be no rules for some and other rules for others. We are all subject to the same laws." If only this were true in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. And I take you no further than the vile, disgusting, hateful, shameful murderers of Amy Beale, who drug this American grad student, 26-year-old grad student, from her car in the early 1990s in the midst of the end of apartheid in the Western Cape, drug her from her car, beat her, and then stoned her to death. For what? What was her crime? She was white. That was her crime. This was a political crime. It was a crime of hatred. The perpetrators were caught. They were tried. They were in prison. And then the Truth and Reconciliation Whitewash Commission came along, and they were granted a hearing. At that hearing, they were granted clemency. And after 5.5 years in prison, they were released from jail. Amy Beale was still dead. She still died a horrifically painful death, a brutal, unjust death with no reason whatsoever. Their excuse for getting off and the TRC letting him off the hook for this brutal murder was that theirs was a political crime and therefore could be forgiven. Meanwhile, Witlessnesses has just lost yet another appeal to be released from prison where he's been at since 1994, when he executed Chris Hani, the beloved communist from the African National Congress, in an act of political violence before the elections. So he executed him. Now, Chris Hani's death was quick, but Amy Beale's death was brutal, horrific. And what kind of monsters sit there and stone someone to death? What kind of psyche do you have? And how can people like that not be a threat to the public? Yet, after 5.5 years, those horrific people were let out of prison. What's the two differences here? Well, Witlessnesses, his crime was politically motivated. He wasn't granted a hearing before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So, Judge Zondo, when you talk about rules for some and rules for others, yeah, it's very clear who the rules are for. Not for ANC cadre, and depending on your skin pigmentation, maybe not for you. Wow. Folks, if you're not a subscriber to Chris Wyatt Africa, take a moment and learn more about the coming saga of Jacob Zuma thumbing his nose at the rule of law and the Zondo Commission. Will he be charged with contempt of court? Will he be arrested? Will he be imprisoned? If you're waiting for that, you might have a long wait. Well, let's see what happens and tune in for more updates here on Chris Wyatt Africa, the Indaba Africa channel, by becoming a subscriber. And give us a like on the video if you don't mind. We appreciate likes. Thank you for your time, for your patience, and for your custom. Whew, man, this is crazy stuff.